I am a worker at the Perry Center for Children, which is a psychiatric residential treatment center for children. And we work with kids ages like 5 to 17. The unit that I work on specifically, though, is the younger kids. We have about 5 to 12-year-olds on that unit. We see lots of interesting kids coming in and out of there who've gone through some really rough stuff and may or may not have the family support that is so important, especially for children. And it's kind of heartbreaking to see these kids coming in and out of there because they are so young, and they're not the kind of jubilant, hopeful, aspirational kids that you usually see, in day-to-day life. A lot of them feel pretty hopeless and that they don't really have a place in the world and nobody cares about them. And there was one girl in particular who really sticks with me. I met her as soon as I started working at the Perry Center, and that was her second trip there. And she came back a couple weeks later after getting bounced out of another foster placement. She came back for a third time, and that foster placement itself was her 14th failed placement in 2 years. And she's just a really, really sweet girl, but's gone through a lot of really icky stuff, and unfortunately or maybe fortunately, has repressed a lot of it. So she's had a really hard time kind of coming to terms and dealing with a lot of the stuff that she's gone through, and that's ended up, kind of hurting her possibility of getting a permanent placement. So the last time that she was at the Perry Center, she was there for probably about 6 months or so, maybe a little longer. And I got to know her really well, and she's a great girl, and she's a beautiful singing voice. She loves singing. She's a really, really sweet kid and just really wants someone to love her and really wants to be successful. So it was finally decided that she was going to have a really long discharge process and really get to know the family that was ready to take her in, so she'd be as successful as possible. And it's been about a month and a half and she hasn't come back yet, so it's been great. I'm getting choked up just thinking about it. I think that sometimes it's hard to remember that stuff like this is possible with these kids, because working in residential care is so hard. But I don't know what would have happened to her if that wasn't a possibility for her. So it's super important that these kids get the funding that they need so they get a fair shot